Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be starting episode 23 in our Catacombs series, where we try to take you on some deep dive tutorials with specific detour edits. And today's topic is going to be a bit of a mishmash between skill filtering, particle coloring, missile interactions. You're going to learn a bit of it all today. So with that said, if you guys are liking this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe, helps everybody out, and be sure to check out the video description below for important links to our website, Discord, Patreon, and other important tools you might need. With all that out of the way, let's jump right in where we always do by editing the text files that we'll be using today. So all we'll be doing as far as edits is going to be missiles.txt and skills.txt. And then I'm also going to pull out in data HD missiles. We're going to grab missiles.json. Now, there will be a few other files that we'll be editing today, but to get started with the basics, we're going to go ahead and start with this, and we'll grab the other files as we need them. So with all that explained, we're going to go back to Data Global Excel, and let's start our edits in skills.txt. So the specific edit we're going to be accomplishing today is just going to be basically helping out another Discord member who was trying to combine certain skills and missiles together, but was running into some issues. But I thought since we're making a video about it, let's take it a step further. Let's show you how you can also customize colors and things to kind of unlock something new that you might really enjoy. So with that kind of understood, what we'll be doing today is trying to turn Fire Arrow into the skill that the Assassin's Wake of Fire trap uses. So a lot of you might know it's that kind of V-shaped fire pattern that it shoots out, when it targets enemies. So we want to turn that into essentially a Fire Arrow type skill that, you can be shot from a bow or something like that by the player. So we're going to start there. But to do that, we just need to explain a little bit about how that kind of works. So for that, I'm just going to do a search real quick for Wake of Fire to find the skill entry itself. And then we're going to get started by checking out the serve do function that it currently uses. One second. Sorry about that. And so for that, we can see the serve do function currently uses function 45. So let's go ahead and hop into the Blizzard data guide real quick, and we'll go down to skills.txt, and we'll check out what that serve do of 45 equals. So we have our serve do function table here, and we look at 45, we can see summon a pet at the target location. So that's not the skill we want, that's just the skill that summons the trap. So what we want to do now is find out once it's summoned, what the summon skill is. So for that, we're going to scroll over until we get to our kind of summon section, pet type, pet max, summon mode, etc. And if we expand this summon skill 1 column out, we'll see that the actual skill it's assigned is called Wake of Destruction Sentry. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little further, and we can see that, at least in retail, on line 281. And if we look at the function for that of 125, we can double check that this is indeed the skill we'd like to clone. And we can see that monster do wake a fire, create a missile from the source unit with a saved direction. So this is definitely the one we want. It's creating the actual missile. And then if we look in the serve missile A column, we can see the actual missile name of Wake of Destruction Maker. So once more, we're just going to keep digging this down the rabbit hole. Let's go ahead and open up missiles.txt, and let's take a look at that missile. So let's just type that in, Wake of Destruction, and we can see that missile here. And once more, if we look up the functions for this, just for a quick sanity check, let's look up the pclientDo function of 52. So once more, data guide, pclientDo, and here's that table. Let's look up function 52. And we can see here, process make perpendicular missiles, create 2 of the same submissile every frame while moving that face at perpendicular directions. So that's definitely our kind of V-shaped missile pattern we're looking for. So this is indeed the proper skill that we want to use. Now we'll come back to this missiles.txt later, but just wanted to explain kind of how all that links together, and then we'll touch on it again a little bit to make some more adjustments. But we know what skill we need to clone now, so we're going to go ahead and select that, and we're just going to copy copy and paste that right over fire arrow. Obviously, if you want to clone this and make it into a new skill or something, be my guest, but we're just showing you how to do it for this example. So we're going to update the ID. We're going to give it back to Amazon as a skill. We'll go ahead and put the skill description back to fire arrow. And there's only a few other changes we need to make. We're going to go and leave the missile and stuff the same. Once more, if you're cloning this and using it as a new skill, you'll probably want to adjust the missiles and stuff, clone those as well. But for us, all we need to do is we need to go over to the animation section. So that'll be here, animation, sequence, transitions, all this. It's no longer, we don't want it to use a sequence because we're, as a player, going to use it. So we'll just set it to something like the attack 1 animation, and the same thing for the transition. So it uses like attack speed for the modifier, and then we don't need to use it on monsters, so we'll just go and X that out for now. The other thing we need to do is give it a left and right click. Obviously a trap doesn't need to click a mouse, so it doesn't need it. We are humans, we do, so let's go ahead and put a 1 in those columns. And we're done with the actual skill edits. Obviously if you wanted to change damage and all that stuff, you could, but let's go ahead and hop into game and see how our new kind of fire arrow clone skill works. So I appreciate you guys' patience as I try to yammer through all this and explain everything while trying to not spend too much time on it. But let's take our slow Amazon with no waypoints and probably a bad character to show an example on. But let's go ahead and show. So we can see that the missile kind of technically works. I mean, there's a fire trail and it's firing something, but it's definitely not in that kind of V shape we want. We also don't see like the actual arrow anymore because we removed the missile. But strangely enough, if we switch to legacy mode, we can see that, well, everything seems to be working just fine. It functions correctly. It also has the correct visual with the V shape. So the problem only seems to be while in resurrected mode, and it only seems to be a visual issue, because if we get near the monster with the trail, we can see that they still kind of die more like the V pattern as opposed to a straight line. Maybe there we go. So you can see a little better. It doesn't hit them directly, but it still kind of kills them. So it's functioning correctly, but it's just not visually lining up in resurrected only mode. So the reason for that is because this visual, this particle, is being filtered by another skill. So to explain what that means and how you can kind of change it, use it to your advantage, etc., let's jump right into skill filtering. So to explain that, we just need to keep in mind, again, the missile name. So the missile that it's currently using is called Wake of Destruction Maker. And if we look at that skill, if we scroll all the way to the right, we can see the sub-missiles and maybe explosion missiles, other things that it might use. But for this case, we can see that it has a sub-missile, just one for both the client and the server, called Wake of Destruction, which we can see right below it. So how this particular missile interaction works is you got the maker that flies out, and it spawns these missiles, these sub-missiles called Wake of Destruction, and these are the ones that have the actual fire, do the damage, etc. And again, this top one is the baby maker. It's just making the sub-missiles. It doesn't really do all that. That's like your main primary missile. With that understood, let's hop over to the resurrected side of things, because we know that's where the problem is. And we're going to do that by going to Data, HD, Missiles, and we're going to open up missiles.json. With that open, we're going to go and format this mess real quick, and you should get something a little prettier like this. And we just want to do a search for Wake of Destruction. In this file, spaces are taken up by underscores instead, so we're just going to do a search for Wake underscore of, and once we do that, we should see our entries listed here. So as a reminder, how this file works is we have the name of the missile in .text. So again, Wake of Destruction Maker is what it's named in the text file. And this is the JSON file it's told to use for the visuals. So for both missiles, it's told to use a JSON file called ground fire small. So as before, let's investigate this further and find out what's going on in that JSON file. So let's go to Data, HD, Missiles. And we're going to go ahead and pull out ground fire small, and let's find out what's happening. So we'll open that up, we'll format it, And again, as another reminder, JSON files within D2R, everything is based on components. So you're going to have different components depending on what type of JSON you're editing. You can mix and match them somewhat, but just again, the important part is that there is components that all do specific things. So in this example here, if we start looking at the bottom, we have a VFX definition component, which as it might sound, defines the visual effects to use for that. You also have what we care about in this video, the source skill filter component. So this tells it what particle to use depending on what skill is used. So if we scroll up just a bit for some better examples, we can see here that if the skill is called immolation arrow, that it should use, ground fire underscore firewall dot particles. But if it's like Druid's Firestorm or something like that, then we should use ground fire small underscore firestorm particles instead. So this is how Blizzard can use different particle effects for different skills, but since they're all closely related as being like ground fire skills, they can put them in the same file and just kind of keep things organized that way. But this is what's currently causing the issue for us also, because it's currently assigned as a filter for Wake of Destruction for the particular particles we need. And since we don't have a filter that matches, it's just using the kind of standard particles, which don't have the same characteristics to spread and kind of keep track of the base location. So anyways, what we want to do is we want to take our Wake of Destruction skill filter and we want to clone that entry. So we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste it. We can just put it right under that. But we want to change the source skill entry to the name of the skill we're trying to use it on. And we're trying to use this particle on our new fire arrow. So all I'm going to do is update that, and we're going to go ahead and save those edits. If you want to update other things like the name and stuff, feel free, but that's all you need to do for functioning wise. Then we're going to go back to missiles, and again, just to recap on what we said with the missile breakdown, the Wake of Destruction missile is the actual missile that's doing damage and kind of showing the fire, whereas the Maker is just that primary missile that first shoots out and starts to create those sub-missiles. The reason that's important for us in this case is we do want the fire effect, that V effect, as the arrow's flying, but we want the arrow model as well, so it looks like we're shooting an actual arrow out like it used to with fire arrow. But because we replaced all the missiles for that, it currently won't look like that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to turn that Maker primary missile and we're going to tell it to use the arrow visual instead. So now, again, the primary missile is going to use an arrow visual like we want, but then it's still going to spawn fire-looking missiles behind it in that V shape we'd like. So as long as I didn't forget anything here, I'm going to go ahead and restart the mod, and we should see that now everything functions correctly, both in the resurrected and legacy views. Sorry. So again, let's just double check that real quick. And assuming that works, we'll jump into the next topics of the video, which is customizing things further. And there we go. So we can see our arrow. It's short, or it's slow, but we can see the arrow is spawning, and obviously now our fire is working correctly in both modes like we originally expected it to. And again, that was because of the filtering that was happening. But once more, we want to change things a bit, and we want to correctly link damages and things like that. So I'm going to quickly jump into that and then show you how we can do recoloring and stuff. So for fixing the kind of damage, the speed, all that kind of stuff, we're going to hop back over to missiles.txt. Again, we have our Wake of Destruction maker here on line 519. We're just going to keep note of that because in this velocity column, we're going to make some changes here to make it match the arrow missile that Fire Arrow was using. So if we scroll up, we can see that the arrow missile normally uses a velocity of like 24. So we're going to go ahead and use that for our Wake of Destruction Maker entry. Again, that's that primary missile. So we're going to change that to 24 so it moves, faster like it used to. And then we want to do one other change so that it correctly links to the new skill and everything. So if we continue to scroll over on this missile entry and then we expand this skill column, we can see that it is currently linked to the Wake of Fire Sentry skill. And this is important because it means that that's where these missiles are told to get their damage from, is from the Wake of Fire Sentry skill. Again, we're going to scroll, we're going to find that. So here's our Wake of Fire Sentry skill. If I scroll all the way to the right, basically, and I get to this E-type column, we can see that this is where all the entries for fire type damage, and then the different values for, as it progresses through level, how to modify that. So we want to copy all of this. Obviously, if you want to copy synergies and stuff, feel free. We're just going to skip out on that for this video, but we want to go to our fire arrow, again, start in the E-type column and paste our entries in, and now it's going to have that fire damage associated with our skill. So now we can update our missile entry to pull that information from the skill. So we're going to update these to say fire arrow instead. Once more, as a final reminder, if you guys have been cloning your own skill this entire time, make sure you change this to, your appropriate skill. Anyways, let's go ahead and save that. We're all done there. So if we go back into game real quick, we should see that everything is the proper speed, and the damage and stuff is linked correctly. So as we level up the skill and stuff, the damage will increase as well, just like you would normally expect it to. But just as a reminder, if that isn't working for you when you first do it, it's probably because you forgot to link everything, or it's using the missile damage correctly, directly, etc. But there we go. We can see the speed's much better, and we do have our damage transferring correctly, as we can see the quill bears dying. We have our visual done. We've successfully made something kind of cool, but it does, obviously look exactly like the fire trap, basically, from the assassin. So maybe you wanted to change it a little more and spice up the color and things like that. So we're going to dive a little deeper in the catacombs here, and we're going to show you how you can accomplish that. So as a reminder, we already know the particle it's using. This is the particle name. It's found in VFX particles, missiles, ground fire small, and then ground fire small underscore WD for Wake of Destruction. So we are going to open that file in one of our first custom programs today. This is called MoPaH for Model and Particle Helper. So I'm going to open that. I'm going to go to the particle section, and I'm going to go ahead and load up that particle. It's already in the correct location for me, but I'm going to go ahead and select that. And what this is going to do is show all the different textures and stuff that particle is using. I'm going to go ahead and close this text editor. We don't need it anymore. And we'll go ahead and just minimize this for now. All right, so anyways, it goes ahead and shows us all the textures this particle is using, and then it'll do its best to recommend us some of the textures that we should probably look at editing first if we're trying to change colors and stuff like that. And one of them, it immediately jumps out at me, flame gradient. That sure sounds like something that would control the color of flames. So we're going to go ahead and find this texture. Again, it does list the, the path and stuff in there, but we're going to go ahead and pull out that texture so we can start editing it. So I've already done that here. If we go to Data, HD, VFX, Textures, Gradient, we can see our blank or our flame gradient texture here. So now that we know where it is and we've pulled it out from Cask or done what you needed to, now we're going to open up another custom program, and we're going to go ahead and open up Noesis. Again, all of these are linked in our Discord, our website, etc., and we have guides on them. But now we want to open up that texture. So as you can see here, I've already gone to the correct location, my custom mod, etc., and I'm going to go ahead and right-click that and select Export, and we're just going to export it as like a PNG or something, but use whatever you'd like. And if we go back to that folder, we'll see that PNG now. So I'm going to open that in Photoshop, use GIMP or Paint or whatever you'd like. But we're going to say, again, we just want to like change the color a little bit. So let's go ahead and duplicate that just so we got a safety backup. And I'll just go to Images, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. And let's go ahead and make it like a dark purple, something like that. We'll change the lightness down a little bit. And yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe turn saturation up a bit. Turn the darkness down just a little more. And make it just a bit more purple and pink. All right, so we're going to say we like something like that. We're just going for like a dark purple pink kind of flame color just to, for something different. So let's just go ahead and save it. We'll just add a 2 at the end for now. And we've made our edited texture. Now we need to turn it back into a texture. So we're going to hop back into Noesis. We're going to refresh that folder. We're going to select our, modified texture here. And we're going to export it back into the game as a texture. So we want to select .texture, and then because it's going into a particle, we're going to use an advanced command, -RGBA 32. If this was a model or an item or something, you'd likely use -DXT5. But again, because this is a particle, use this. And if you're confused about the advanced commands, we do have, again, video guides explaining all this in the channel. So anyways, with that said, -RGBA32, hit export, and now we have our kind of final edited texture. So I'm going to rename the original one here just so we kind of know, yep, this was the original. And then we're going to go ahead and rename our edited one to the original name so it kind of takes its place. And with all that done, we've now edited the texture that the particle uses for its coloring information. And so we're going to go ahead and load in the game and test that and see that that's working correctly. And you can already see here from the loading screen that this gradient is used by other fire effects. And so we know it's working correctly already just because we can see we made a purple campfire. And you'll see it on torches and things like that. So again, if you're kind of doing your own custom thing, it's always nice to make clones, that way it doesn't affect other things. But now that we've made that change, we can see our nice purple flames. But one thing that might be pretty obvious is that although the flames are purple, the light that they give off is still like the old orange kind of light. So let me see if I can find just something to cast a nice shadow off of here. Some kind of building that's not a wall. Maybe even the tree will work. Oh, there you go. So you can see a little bit on the tree. Obviously, it's still casting orange light on other things as well. So if you want to really make things match, you might want to go a step further on editing things to, get that true purple visual that you want. So for that, we're going to exit once more, and we're going to hop into another custom program yet again, this one called PKBlaster. A disclaimer on this program, it is still a work in progress in development, and it will not work for some particles because the file structure isn't fully understood yet, but it will work for some. So basically it's just kind of take it or leave it type of status right now. Best of luck to you that it works on your exact particle. But anyways, with that said, as long as you have Java installed, all we're going to do is just run that, and then we're going to load that particle file. I forgot how bad the UI on this was, so give me 1 second, and we'll go ahead and browse to that location. Alright, so we finally made it to our particle, so we're going to go and open that. And it's pretty simple. All we want to do is select the color that we'd like. So I'm going to select something like this dark purple here. I'm going to go and click that. I'm going to see a pop-up box like this, ideally, which shows me that orange colors are being turned to purple colors. But again, this may not work for every particle, so you may see things that don't show any colors, or it shows things that make no sense, like green being changed to purple, which may not be in the particle or whatever. But again, just with that disclaimer understood, we're going to select OK, and we don't actually need to do anything. It's already been updated, so we can just go ahead and close that, minimize customize it, whatever. So now our particle has been edited for its color as well. So as long as I didn't forget anything along this entire journey, we should be complete once we go into game with our custom skill working, with all its damages, everything like that linked, as well as our colors fully adjusted, both what we call the baked-in colors with PKBlaster, as well as the main texture colors it gets, obviously from the texture. So let's see if I've been rambling for nothing. And there we go. So obviously I didn't get the color quite right. I didn't bother paying that close attention to the exact shade. But you can feel free to tweak this as you'd like. And now you have created something truly unique using all the obviously assets and resources you had to work with during this time as we're still in development. But hopefully that will help you again, create something special that you enjoy. Thanks for listening to me yammer on to the end, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.